Good morning, my renegades. Welcome back to Rogue Radio. My name is Sarah Jane, and today we're going down the rabbit hole again. Won't you join me? Links on how to reach me will be down in the description below. You like what I did there? I don't even know what I did. What'd I do? Good morning and welcome to Down the Rabbit Hole, where we're gonna be talking about Plum Island. Have you noticed that I've done this 3 times already? Anyway, so one of the reasons why I want to talk about Plum Island is because, for one, I have talked about it before during quarantine, and I believe that this is one of the reasons why coronavirus just kind of popped up out of nowhere, is because America, like the American government, has around 13,056 plus many more that aren't on record, like high containment germ labs, and Plum Island is one of them. So I've talked about Plum Island before, and I kind of owe it to you guys to explain why this is one of the conspiracy theories that I really want to cover, because, for one, we don't hear much about Plum Island. We don't talk about it. We've never, honestly, if you think of like the big main conspiracy theories, Plum Island isn't one of them, which intrigues me, because yes, I want to deliver the information about the most famous ones, but I also want to talk about the ones that aren't that popular, because I think that there's a whole lot of information in those little ones just as much as the big ones. So I've talked about it. I think people who have been here long enough, that have listened to me, you guys know that I believe that this is probably where coronavirus came from and has hit America, because I just don't believe that it just came from China. I don't believe that it came from just anywhere. Yes, I do believe it came from China. I do believe that it came from a lab in China, but I also believe that in order for it to reach America as fast as it did, it had to have been in a lab somewhere close to America. And that's where Plum Island comes in. So, what is Plum Island? Alright? Plum Island was America's private island of terror, a biowarfare lab near the NYC and Boston. So this is right off the coast of Cape Cod and Long Island. So, back when I was talking about MK Ultra, there was a lab in Long Island as well, that kind of housed some very bad chemicals, and people are not allowed on this part of the island or this building. Even today, they're not allowed because it's just so deadly. But it was created by Nazi scientists doing animal research that could wipe out the human race. So, Kenneth King, an expert on biowarfare, which is the use of viruses as weaponry against humans, since 9/11, the government has been opening germ labs all over the country, developing drugs and vaccines to protect U.S. against bioterror. So, some of those bioterror places is Fort Detrick, the I want to say the CIA in that MK Ultra division. There's also a lab in Maryland. There's also Plum Island, and there is also that lab in Long Island that is not in operation anymore, but is still a threat because no one's allowed to go in it, but we all know that American people can be kind of naive, and they'll do something in order to get there, and that's how disasters happen. But the labs could kill the human race, of course. Let's see. Accidents in these labs occur regularly, but being concealed from the public because the biodefense industry doesn't want the American public to be concerned about it. Excuse me. Listen. Then get better security. Or here's another idea. Since I know a lot about this now, just shut down the labs. This is chaotic. But the thing is that I know that they don't care. They don't care. They're like, oh, okay, well, if it, gets out into the public, at least we're, helping population control. I know that's what they're thinking. But, other countries are probably willing to use biochemicals against the US, so you'd think that biochemical defense research would be a sensible thing to do. Of course. By the way, all of this stuff that, my main source is Jesse Ventura. He had a show on True TV a long, long time ago called Conspiracy Theories, and I loved it. I think you can get it on Amazon Prime now, so you can, if you're interested in the show, go ahead and check it out. I highly recommend it. If a terrorist could make a pathogen, then why can't the government? It's a get them before they get me situation. I think I've talked about that too, where America, especially when it came to MK Ultra, which I feel I've only scratched the surface. That might be an ongoing conspiracy theory, to be perfectly honest. But even in the MK Ultra branch, I feel like that was the whole mission, was to beat other countries to the punch when it came to new scientific revelations and stuff like that. Biochemical warfare and all of that stuff. So they're refusing the possibility that a pathogen germ could get loose. It already did. Yeah, sound familiar? Mm-hmm. Developing animal diseases and passing them from animal to human. Which, of course, Plum Island will say that that is a lie, but we all know that some animal diseases can be passed to humans now. That's great. Bioweapon research disguised as animal research, and viruses that are supposed to be strictly for animal research passed on to humans. Alright, so if you guys have been keeping up with this stuff, like just in general, not just with this podcast, there have been plenty of either pandemics or a lot of illnesses that would take place. There was a time where the SARS outbreak was a terrible thing to get. Like, you needed to get vaccinated and go to the doctor as soon as possible when you, if you ever contracted SARS. Swine flu was a problem. Anthrax was a problem because, I remember that. Back in the 2000s, where my family was very, very scared to even get their mail because they believed that terrorists were lacing mail with white powder, which was anthrax. But H1N1 was a thing. I remember that in, I want to say, maybe like the 2015, not even 2015, I feel like. Maybe like 2011. That was a thing. Flu, of course, is a thing, and now we got corona, and then the new Delta variant. So this has been happening for a long time, and I don't believe that it's just a thing that happens repeatedly. I believe it's something that is purposefully done in order to kill off the human race. which honestly, I will have to find out the one conspiracy theory, like maybe the Rosicrucians, maybe I'll talk about that, where they do believe that depopulation will help the Earth. But worst case scenario is a pandemic that Nixon and a lot of American people feared. Well then, I mean, I hope y'all see it. Plum Island is about 2 miles off the coast of Long Island, New York, and 70 miles from New York City, and not too far from Boston. It was started by the Army and now is run by Homeland Security. In 2003, there was a project in the Department of Defense to try and manipulate camel pox so that it could be like smallpox. Hey, Homeland Security, why would you want to do that? Why would you want to do that? All of this, I feel like, I know I've said it before in the beginning of the podcast, I just believe that all of these conspiracy theories boils down to one thing. Make man into their own image or die. That's what I believe. That's just what I believe. Plum Island moved to Kansas in the heart of cattle country where the majority of our food supply comes from. So the one thing that I really have to talk to you about, just because I've learned it, is beef is not safe anymore, especially ground beef. Because I have learned by my own experience, by me and my family's own experience, that there is a lot of metal shavings in ground beef. So, one thing that I do ask you guys to do, I'm not saying that you should stop eating beef, because I don't want to, some people need beef in order to have their bodies function. That's just, some people need red meat. So, I'm not going to tell you not to eat it, but the one thing that I want you guys to kind of keep in mind is that if you ever have a metallic-y taste after you eat a burger that you prepared, or if you prepared meat and you cooked it by yourself and you have that metallic-y taste in your mouth, that is a sure sign that there is metal that you've eaten. You've eaten metal. I do my best not to eat a lot of beef, but I like beef. But there's certain types of beef that I have to learn to not eat. Like ground beef is not something that I will eat anymore. But one thing that I do want to kind of tell you guys, because I care about you, is when you go to any store that sells meat, go to the beef section, but take a magnet with you. If it sticks to the beef, stay away from it. If it sticks to the beef, stay away from it. It's not just putting viruses in the beef. They're trying to do everything they can to depopulate the earth. That's just what I believe. You can believe anything you want. But the one thing, if you guys don't believe me, and you guys need proof, take a magnet with you. I preferably like a powerful magnet, and stick it to the beef and see what happens. And if it doesn't stick, if it doesn't have that magnetic force, then it's cool. But lately, every time we get beef, we have a metallic taste in our mouths. And that's not okay with me. But back to Plum Island, okay? Plum Island has now moved from the New York coast and the Boston coast to smack dab in the middle of Manhattan, Kansas. In the middle of cattle country, in the middle of where your beef is prepared. Like, there's slaughterhouses around, there's farms around, and why in the world would a biochemical research lab be in the middle of where our cows are raised and slaughtered and packed? I wonder why. I'm not amazed. I'm more irritated at the fact that this is an actual thing. If you guys don't believe me, look it up. Plum Island, Manhattan, Kansas. There's actually a document that I will read later on about it moving to Kansas, because I found it on the governmental website. I want to say it was like the CIA website. I can't remember. It was a governmental website. But in July 2008, this is where the Montauk Monster came from. So if you guys don't know what the Montauk Monster is, I know it's been around. Like, I know people have seen pictures of it and was like, oh my god, what is this? It was a beaked, hairless creature that washed up on shore. So it had a beak, it had hooves, and it just looked like nothing of this world. And it had a number, like a barcode or like a serial number on it. And it was strange. Nobody understood where it came from, and rumors started to spread that it came from Plum Island. But it was a hairless, hooved, beaked creature that was found washed up dead on the shores of Montauk. 2 others were found as well. Plum Island is blamed for the creatures of odd anatomy being found on the shores. When did Plum Island become as it is right now? So we're talking about, when did Plum Island become this research facility that is now more secretive than ever? So after World War II, Nazi scientist Erich Traub decided to set up off the coast of Long Island a germ warfare lab to develop insects that could carry pathogens for biowarfare. In Germany, Erich Traub was for Heinrich Hitler. It was Traub's idea to inject animal diseases into ticks and to release ticks on an army of bioweapons. Excuse me. So this guy was obsessed with biowarfare. He was able to get this island in order to make this biochemical research lab to infect ticks with diseases, just to see if it worked, I guess. But here's the kicker, guys. Remember Operation Paperclip, where America hired Nazi soldiers after World War II? Erich Traub was brought to the U.S. under Operation Paperclip. The American government is basically screwing the American people. And they just don't like us. You would think that our own government would actually want to protect us, but of course not. The American government hates you. And the minute you realize that, your eyes will be open. And because I'm so irritated, we're gonna go and have a break. You want to know how I make some unique podcasts? If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. For one, it's free. There are creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer, and they're easy to use. Anchor will distribute your podcast for free so that it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more, and you can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It is everything you need to make a podcast in one place. Download your free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. It's really fun. Come and join the Renegade family, alright? Alright. Last part that we left off on was Eric Traub actually being part of Operation Paperclip. So, Operation Paperclip was an operation created by the CIA that recruited Nazi scientists. They brought in rocket experts such as Werner von Braun, who helped start NASA. Yeah, you know that company that foundation, I don't even know what it actually is, technically. But we do know that it sends satellites into space. And it does a whole lot of other stuff. And it was created by a Nazi scientist. Good job, American government. Good job. I do understand a little bit when it comes to this. I feel like it's like keep your friends close and your enemies closer. I can understand that, but why did you have to give him a huge company that actually makes rockets and sends messages out into space and researches a lot of stuff that we know as fact today in textbooks, okay? I just don't like that. But anyway, security is terrible. Excuse me. Security is terrible and completely exposed to the public as ferries go right past Plum Island. So, anybody who goes past Plum Island, if there was an airborne outbreak, okay, just think of it like this. You are on the Long Island Sound, right? Having a good day. On your boat. Just speeding through life, right? Just having the best time of your life on the water, right? Speed past Plum Island, and you get back to the mainland, you start feeling sick. You are now a carrier of a virus that has broken out on Plum Island because you were in that air, not air traffic, but in that airborne territory. Like, I don't know what it's called. I'm so sorry. It's just, you're in that area, and if there was an airborne virus that broke out of that facility, you would be most likely carrying that virus to the mainland, causing a pandemic. I feel like just because they have lazy security, that this is probably what they're counting on. This is what they're counting on. They're hoping that one American that is naive enough to speed past on a speedboat or go swimming near it, God, I hope you guys don't, that y'all contract a virus that you can give to everybody else. Amazing. One of 7 most wanted Al-Qaeda fugitives. Oh, I'm sorry. Hang on. I am going a little too fast. People with connections to Al-Qaeda have been found with information dossiers from Plum Island. So, do you guys remember, towards the end of the MK Ultra series, I was talking about, just before Gottlieb decided to leave the CIA, and because it was under new management, this new head of the CIA he sent out messages to all the other CIA agents all around the world, asking for any information that the CIA has been doing behind the government's back. But before the head decided to go and get another job within the CIA, the next person that became head had a 600-page book slapped on his desk, and every single one was a dossier of every single account that had happened during the time before the new head came in. So, Gottlieb was mentioned, MK Ultra was mentioned, maybe once or twice. I can't remember. But in order for a dossier to be in the hands of Al-Qaeda, it would have to be sent. Either that or stolen. But I believe that it was sent. In order for a dossier, a governmental dossier, in order for that to be in the hands of Al-Qaeda, it would have to have been sent. Dossiers don't fall into the hands of random people. They just don't. Especially when it comes to governmental high security, or, quote, high security, because we know it's lazy. High security places like Plum Island. I'm really starting to think that the affairs in foreign countries and in the US is just a big sandbox game. Just like a big chess game. Who's gonna win? Who's gonna win? I'm sorry. One of the 7 most wanted Al-Qaeda fugitives, named Lady Al-Qaeda, when she was captured in 2008, she was carrying a handwritten documents on a mass casualty attack and a list of targets including Plum Island. If they wanted to hit Plum Island, it would have been easy. There was no protection, easily exposed, and all they would have to do is rent a boat and bomb it. Then a disaster would begin. You think that Corona is bad. What happens if any of those research biochemical labs in America was set on fire or bombed? Or maybe a virus was stolen and they decided to just let it out. 1978, there was a mistake with the negative pressure system at the main lab in Plum Island, and hand, foot, and mouth disease came out. This is when that came out. So, hand, foot, and mouth disease is a common infection that is mild and contagious, mostly with children. It consists of mouth sores and rashes on the hands and feet. So, incidents include virus outbreaks, infected workers, contaminated raw sewage flushed into Long Island. Oh, that's nice. All of the viruses are just dumped in Long Island Sound, so if you're hoping for a nice beach getaway, don't do it in the Long Island Sound, please. Even after 9/11, when Homeland Security took over, they were still doing that stuff. Ticks could be the source of Lyme disease, and Eric Traub was working with it. So, investigation went into the connection of ticks and Lyme disease, but Homeland Security denied the existence of any connection. Government records, everything that's a standard procedure, and when they deny something, it's most likely a lie. This is where not the assumption, but the idea that Plum Island doesn't only test on animals, but also humans too. Because the human body was found in Plum Island, found in early 2010 on the beach. So, a mutated body with elongated fingers. Human experimentation is possible there as well, of course. A local contracted Lyme disease 15 years ago. I'm sorry, why did that just, like, jump? Let me, do something real quick. Okay, here's the human washed up on shore. I'm gonna talk about this just because I introduced it. So, the homicide squad investigated the human. County medical examiner determined the victim is a male and white, found in the southeast beach of Plum Island. Thursday, January 14th, 2010, 4:15 p.m. A private security guard on foot patrol discovered the clothed body, which was partially in the sand at the surf line of the beach at 4:15 p.m. Security guard notified police. White male, 6 to 6'2" foot tall, with a large build and very long fingers, found in the middle of January with only a short-sleeved shirt and cargo pants. So, here's the most horrifying thing. There were 5 holes drilled in his head. Maybe a project of neurosurgery. Sorry. There was no ID. This is kind of like where the police report kind of comes in, that I read. There were buttons on his pants inscribed God Body Collection, brown loafers, no obvious signs of trauma to the body, which was partially decomposed. Body removed to the office of Suffolk County Medical Examiner. Okay. National Bio and Agro Defense. Oh, okay. So there's not much information about that, which I think is convenient for the American government, of course, the US government. But I do believe that there is some experimentation, if not a lot, when it comes to all of this. Because, I mean, MK Ultra, excuse me, MK Ultra, alright, tested on humans a lot for a very long time. So, I'm not surprised when I see that there's information about Plum Island that, you know, I don't know. It's just awful. Like, I'm not surprised if it did come out that Plum Island was testing on humans. Because it's happened before. Why would they stop? So, a local contracted Lyme disease 15 years ago, probably longer now since the documentary episode that I watched was kind of dated. I want to say it was around like 2010. It was back in the day, so a lot of this stuff might be a little dated, but started investigating in. Excuse me. Okay, I had to eat something real quick. We're gonna read that whole thing because I'm sure I left you confused. A local contracted Lyme disease 15 years ago and started investigating to find that the government created it. He used to run bench press and was physically able-bodied. Now he can't run or do simple math. So, this is where we go into the patent. So, the strain was patented by the Department of Defense, and he has papers where they infected ticks with different types of viruses for biochemical warfare. This is all a government document that he has found, that he has kind of obtained. American government loves their diseases. They do. How would a tick get off the island? A few months out of the year, the current is blowing in towards the shore. Experiments also reveal that the ticks are also infected and left outside. They're doing this on purpose. Birds eat them, and the birds travel inland. Or the ticks could just be on the birds, and they could carry them. Yep. 2005, there was a document found with a list of diseases that the feds were working on in Plum Island and other states, or in other sites, I'm sorry. Anthrax. Oh! That anthrax outbreak, you can thank the government for that one. Tularemia, I don't know what that is, cholera, desert fever, and Lyme disease. So, let me paint a picture for you. When something is patented, that usually means that it's the property of that person or that company or that government. It is a property now. So I've got Google to look up the definition of patent. A government authority or license conferring a right or title for a set period, especially the sole right to exude others from making, using, or selling an invention. That is very disturbing. So, why would the U.S. government, who say they want to protect us, Homeland Security of all things, alright, Homeland Security is supposed to secure the nation with safety. That's just how it's supposed to be. It's supposed to protect the American people from any impending threat. Why does Homeland Security have the patent for Lyme disease and anthrax, tularemia, cholera, desert fever, all of that? And I'm pretty sure they have the license to coronavirus too. So, this all comes down to depopulation. I'm sorry to break it to y'all, but it's a thing. And it's something that the elites do believe in. They believe that we are cattle. They believe that we are viruses ourselves, that we are nuisances, and they want to keep the world away from us. You wonder why certain people can't gain momentum in their lives or reach a higher point in their lives. It's because of elites choosing whether or not somebody can be famous or if somebody can be Republican or Democrat in the elite world. There's a reason why a lot of the actors and actresses that we all know and love are Democrat. It's true. I'll get into that at some point, but so I believe that yes, the elites, the Illuminati, of course. I believe that the Illuminati exists. In order for good to exist, there has to be evil going around somewhere behind the scenes, slithering around like the snake in the grass, like they are, manipulating other people into doing their job. Okay? This is no exception. This is incredibly terrible. It's terrible. The government, the U.S. government, has patented Lyme disease and all these other very, I don't want to say very famous, but very well-known and even little-known viruses that kill other people. You can't tell me that the US government is still not... You can't tell me that they're not using that against the American people. Because if they've done it back in the day, when MK Ultra was still going on, which I still believe that it is going on, but back in that time, human experimentation was accepted. What would make us think that we aren't their guinea pigs right now? Think about it. You ever see, like, The Nutty Professor? Okay? I just want to kind of talk to y'all about that movie. Okay? The Nutty Professor, whatever his name is, I don't remember. Okay? Isn't his name Professor Plum? Okay. He has a buddy, right, that uses guinea pigs in order for, like, you know, to get information from, like, different things that they inject the things with, the animals with. There is literally a wall, like a big cabinet, and it was like basically a grid of just all these like these mice and the guinea pigs are all in their own little cubby hole, all in this grid. So each one has their own little section where they live in, where the scientist can observe them after they inject them with something. None of these guinea pigs, okay, I have a point. None of these guinea pigs are allowed to associate with one another. They are not allowed to eat the same food as the one next to them. Each one of them are contained in their own compact environment. In this movie, I'm sure we've seen it. We've seen it in I Am Legend 2, which, honestly, I need to go back and watch. If you guys haven't watched it, there's a lot of revelation in there. There's a lot of things that has happened in that movie that is happening now. Yeah, so the government and the elites like to brag about what they're doing. So whenever you watch a new movie, make sure that you really watch it. But I know I'm veering off topic, but each guinea pig is in their own contained environment. They are quarantined. They are quarantined. Each one is put into their own environment. They are contained. What did the government do in order to stop the spread of coronavirus earlier last year in April? They quarantined us. They put us in our own contained environments. They put us in our own homes, of course. Well, Sarah, we were in our own homes. It's not like we were prisoners. The government dictated when you were able to go outside. You could only go outside if you were able to get food, or if you were going to get food, or go to the doctor, or anything like that. Then what happened after quarantine? People were getting tested. We were being experimented on. COVID-19 tests were passed around like Bibles. They wanted to make sure that none of us were a carrier, and therefore, if you were, you would be put in quarantine again. Now that the vaccine is out, which has not been thoroughly tested, by the way, because if it was, people would not be having different reactions to it. People are being injected and having different reactions many different reactions. Some people who have never had a heart problem in their family, not even in their bloodline, has a heart problem. Somehow they get a heart problem because after the vaccine, they end up getting a heart problem. People who have never had Bell's palsy before, in their bloodline, in their family, in their medical history, never had this, contracted it after they got the vaccine. People who have had involuntary convulsions, never had that problem before until they were injected. Ladies and gentlemen, the people of the world are now guinea pigs. Do you see it yet? Just like the guinea pigs in Nutty Professor and in I Am Legend, which I know he tested on rats, but you know what I mean. Okay? Just like the animals that they experimented on in those movies, where they contained them, they quarantined them, they injected them, they experimented on them, and they observe our reactions. We are now guinea pigs, and I think even before coronavirus happened, we were guinea pigs from birth. 'Cause, to be perfectly honest, big flu outbreak. What happens? Oh, get a vaccine. Here you go. Poke. Oh, I got the SARS, the swine flu, the bird flu. I've got H1N1. I've got anthrax. Oh, vaccine, vaccine, vaccine. Let's poke you, and poke you. We're being experimented on. Nothing in this world is innocent anymore. Nothing in this world is going to be the same anymore, because slowly that mask that the government had over their face is slowly being torn off, slowly being pulled off, and it's rearing its ugly face. And what is it going to say? I own you. The government thinks that they own us. They think that they own us to the point where they have to patent diseases and orchestrate pandemics in order to control us with fear. In order to control us with fear. You can believe me or not. I don't mind if you don't believe me. Do your own research. Just learn for yourself, okay? This is me trying to help people out. I care about my listeners, and honestly, if you did get the vaccine, I don't hate you. I don't. I just believe that a lot of people have been misled about the vaccine. And there's so much left that I have not said. And I'm so sorry that I'm making this so long. But you have to understand, we have been guinea pigs since birth. Since birth, people. When you are born, they poke your heel in order to get a DNA sample from you. They circumcise you. They take that. They use that. They use your DNA to their advantage because they know that a DNA strand is the most sophisticated and most intricate and complicated part of the body that cannot be imitated, copied, or destroyed. Okay? Understand that. Your DNA is unique to you. You have that DNA. Nobody else has that DNA. Nobody in the world has the same DNA, unless you're twins. But nobody in the world has the same DNA as you. Why would the government want to poke your heel and try to get a DNA sample of you? Why do they need to keep record of you? You are born and you have a social security number stamped upon you. You are now a number. You aren't a person. You aren't a human. You are now a number. I can understand why a lot of people now on social media are starting to believe that this whole world is starting to become a matrix where nothing just seems real anymore, because our assumption and our idea of our own lives is now starting to be revealed as being manipulated from the day we were born. We have been manipulated since the day we were born. We were conditioned to be owned by the government. They want to own us. You want to know why? Because if you own a person, if you own somebody, if you enslave somebody, you can do whatever you want to that person. You can inject fear, you can inject chemicals, you can drug them up with pills and drugs such as heroin and all of that other stuff. Manipulate their mind from the TV, the radio, music. There's a reason why a lot of artists that become famous just come out of nowhere. Where did Cardi B come from? She just popped out of nowhere. Where did Lil Nas come from? He just popped out of nowhere. There's a reason why. It's because it's pushing their agenda to own you. Okay, this is a governmental document that I found on the CIA website, and I'm going to read it to you. Yes. The NBAF, National Bio and Agro Defense Facility, Biosafety Level 4 Research Lab in Manhattan, Kansas, created by the USDA. Department of Homeland Security document. So this is a Homeland Security document. The NABF, or NBAF, will be a state-of-the-art biocontainment lab for the study of diseases that threaten both Americans, animal, agricultural industry, and public health. Department of, or DHS and ST, I don't even know what ST means, is building a facility to standards that fulfill the mission needs of the U.S. Department of the USDA, which will own, manage, and operate the NBAF once construction and commissioning activities are complete. Develop vaccines. Diagnose emerging diseases, and train veterinarians. Okay? I don't believe that this is just animal experimentation. We've been experimented on since the day we were born. Department of Homeland Security will leverage the facility as a national asset to fulfill Homeland Security mission needs. U.S. currently does not have a lab facility for maximum biocontainment space to study high-consequence zoonotic diseases affecting large livestock. The NBAF will be the first lab in the U.S. to provide BSL-4 labs capable of housing cattle and other large livestock. The NBAF will also feature a vaccine development module. You're not doing a very good job of actually making a good vaccine that helps people, but okay. Alright, Department of Homeland Security leads construction activities for the NBAF, which remain underway. Current operations at the Plum Island Animal Disease Center will continue until the mission is transitioned to the NBAF. Federal government will execute a plan to provide for seamless transition of the agricultural defense mission from Plum Island to the NBAF that includes an overlap of operations to make certain that there are no interruptions of the critical science mission and operational capabilities. January 2020, USDA of the DHS, Department of Homeland Security, signed a memorandum of understanding to outline their ongoing strategic and interagency partnership at NBAF, focusing on national security and the it establishes an initial framework for scientific collaboration and identifies current areas of opportunity for collaboration to include threat risk assessment, research, prioritization. So, threat risk assessment, research, prioritization. Determine which transboundary emerging animal diseases and zoonotic pathogens present the greatest risk to animal health and human health and national security. Outputs from this work will inform the process for research prioritization at the NBAF. Research and collaboration. To support related USDA and DHS food and agriculture missions, including threat characterization and classified research RDT+E involving biological countermeasures, vaccines, biotherapeutics? I'm sorry, biotherapeutics? Okay. And diagnostics. I need to know what biotherapeutics are. I don't know. Subject matter, expert collaboration, and information sharing in partnerships. Collaborative program areas may evolve over time. As a result, this MOU establishes a process for periodic review to ensure consistency with current mission scopes of activities. And also, Fort Detrick is still around. Just to throw that in there after all of that technical mumbo-jumbo. Basically, what the NBAF is disguising as is an animal research lab in order to find out what diseases are pathogenic to humans, like from animals to humans, and also being able to, contract or to find vaccines in order to help the American people. So, back when Corona first started, weren't we told that in China that the coronavirus came from bats? It came from bats. So if this is true, if this document is completely true, then they are researching animals that this is probably a contractable disease, like a pathogenic disease that actually did come from a bat. Or maybe they're just disguising it because we all know that the American government loves their diseases, and they probably did create a disease like the coronavirus in order to kill people off, which I truly believe. I don't think it's just from a bat. They might have found it in a bat, but maybe they made it worse. I don't know. Biochemical Level 3 Containment Center at Plum Island. Safety issues had been observed, and some workers wanted to discuss the issues with the Director of Homeland Security and other environmentalists that were having a meeting there. People had been fired for speaking up about their concerns for safety and containment. Injected cow that escaped its pen and infected the other cows. All the animals had to be killed there. 4 hours of no power at the island. These are like a list of incidents that happened. So there was 4 hours of no power at the island, no ventilation in the biocontainment area where the viruses had to be contained at a negative pressure. duct tape, of all things, put around the edges of the biocontainment. That is not going to help. Anyway, let's see, containment area to stop the viruses from getting in. Duct tape won't stop the viruses. Just saying. It will stop a lot of other things, but it's not going to stop the virus. Stupid. Anyway, Congressman Tim Bishop denies all history of Plum Island. Troubled by Plum Island moving to Kansas, he's troubled by it, of course. Animal diseases that have not been spread to humans. Okay. Dr. Roger Breeze has something else to say. In the 1990s, he ran the lab at Plum Island. The biggest security breaches were under his watch. Now that Homeland Security has taken over, he is the chief scientist in the biological weapons program. Denies biological warfare is done at the island. He also says that testing is on animals, but can also infect humans, which is inconsistent to Bishop's claim, which means he was kept blind about the topic. Breeze denied the Montauk monster and the dead man that washed up on shore. Anyone who works in the lab with hand and foot mouth disease inhale the viruses in the air during their workday. God, that must be a terrible job to have. And it will be caught in the back of their throat. So hand and foot mouth disease, it gets caught in the back of their throat. That's why Plum Island workers, there's always a rule that if they go inside the lab, you are not allowed to have an animal. You're not allowed to visit a zoo or a circus or pet stores where the animals could catch the diseases and spread. So they can't have any contact with any animal at all. Layman's terms, he admitted that people bringing diseases off the island and that the island security is on the honor system. Okay. Agrees that having the lab moved to Kansas is a bad idea, but Congress does not want to hear it. The Congress does what it wants. The island is 3 miles long, 1 mile wide. The island was sold to an unknown business and now is relocated into Kansas. Why would Homeland Security take hold of the island after 50 years of it already wreaking havoc on the Bay Area? So, this is another case of someone who was found dead on Plum Island. So, there's a woman found dead in Plum Island. August 23rd, 2015, authorities have identified the woman found dead on Plum Island, 59-year-old Newburyport woman. The Essex District Attorney's Office said Wednesday that the woman has been identified by the Chief of Police of the Chief Medical Examiner Jocelyn McLaughlin. The body was found Sunday by 2 people walking on the beach at the Parker Wildlife Refuge in Newbury. And the death was not suspicious. Let's see here. Woman partially clothed on the beach that was closed for 4 hours at the time. No one knew at the time if the death was accidental or on purpose. The 1970s, Lyme disease broke out in Lyme, New York. Common thought was ticks carried the disease into the area. And that, I close the book on Plum Island unless I find more interesting information to give you. Every single one of these episodes for Down the Rabbit Hole, excuse me, they're all going to be ongoing kind of research, especially if I find like a nugget somewhere that I want to talk to you guys about. So yeah. But that is all I have for today. Thank you for diving into the rabbit hole with me. Thank you very much. I have to clean my house. Have a good day. I will see you in the trenches next time.